I don't think so. Right. Shall we open the doors?
Yeah, why not?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Excellent, excellent. Nice to see some of your faces on Zoom. Haven't seen for a while, which is really good. We're just waiting for a few more just to come in.
I have a piece of paper I could scribble notes on, please. Oh, sorry.
Notes are always important.
Right.
I'll fax you over some now.
Lizzie. Okay, so a bit.
Hasn't arrived yet. Where's that paper here? Very slack.
Right. Okie dokes. Let's get cracking. Joe, if you could just have a quick keep an eye on the attendees for us, that'd be lovely. Let me just turn that off. So firstly, thank you for joining this webinar. It's kind of long overdue, really. We've been due to try and get something all like this organised for a while, but such is life and busy times here at Full Power. We've had to kind of do it now. And thank you to Andy from Focus Group, who I'll introduce in a second. So this webinar is really just about understanding a bit more about the telecoms offering, our partners, Focus Group, and just understanding what's going on in the market really at the moment. But I'm going to pass over to Andy very shortly. Just a few little housekeeping things here. We are recording this session, so if you don't want your cameras on, feel free to turn them off. And obviously, if you can mute while Andy's talking, that would be great, just to avoid any background noise. If you have got any questions that you would like to ask throughout the session, then if you could just pop them in the chat box. So, and Joe or myself will be monitoring those, and if those questions are relevant to what Andy's talking about at the time, then obviously we can bring it into the conversation. If not, if you want to hold fire towards the end, then we'll have a little Q&A just to finish it off, really. Hopefully we should be done by 3, so we don't intend to go any longer than that. So I appreciate everyone's got things to be doing and busy with their time. But I'd just first like to introduce then to Andy McGowan, who's basically is our kind of partner manager at Focus Group. So I'm going to pass over to Andy.
Thank you, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all good. Got a few slides to run through today. Hopefully not too much, and we'll do a bit of talking through. And I'm hoping we'll have lots of questions as we go. On some of the different topics. Can everyone see the screen okay first? I guess the most important thing. Good stuff.
I can't see it.
Can't see it?
No.
Can everyone else see it? Is everyone else?
Yeah,
I can't see it either. No.
For some reason, I've had really problems with seeing people's shared slides since they did an update. So, yes.
Okay. So, can someone just say that they can see it, just out of interest?
I did. Is it simply a photograph of a group of people?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I can see.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah, sorry, Andy. Yeah, just to say we'd actually set it up before everyone joined the call, so you should be seeing a group of happy, smiley people on the call. Obviously,
Yep,
our
exactly
happy
what's
customers.
Our faces as well, right? Good stuff.
Okay.
If I shift along a slide just to give you a bit of a flavour of what we're all going to run through today. So we'll cover off a little bit about who Focus Group are. We'll take a look into some of the products and solutions that we offer here. we will have a bit more of a deep dive into something called the big switch off, which I'm sure some of you already know a fair amount about. We'll take a look at some of the processes and onboarding of customers here at Focus. It's probably the most PowerPointy, slidey bit of the whole thing, but I'll try and keep it as quick as possible. We'll have a quick look at pricing, and then Jeff is going to run through how to log a Telecoms lead on the portal. So I heard a ding. Does that mean there's a question already?
No, it's just people coming in, so don't worry
Fine.
about them. You
No
ignore
problem.
them.
Okay, so a little bit about Focus Group. So the business was set up in 2003. At the time, it was set up by two chaps, Chris and Ralph, as a telecoms only business, and all they were doing was providing discounted call rates to local businesses. So essentially going to the main carriers, BT, Gamma, TalkTalk, taking discounted rates and then passing them on. The business changed quite quickly. So I think it was 2006, BT, who had the monopoly at the time and were split up. So you've got BT Openreach and BT Wholesale. And at the time, BT Wholesale approved 25 established telecoms companies to become wholesalers. And so what that meant is Focus could then go to market and provide not only the call savings on the like the pence per minute basis, but also the line rental savings as well. And I guess that's where the business really took off. So a little bit of a different business now. I joined 9 years ago. We had one office and about 230 staff. Now we look after 45,000 businesses across the country. We've got 19 offices and just over 1,000 staff as well. So very, very different business. Head office is based just outside of Brighton in a place called Shoreham. I think a few of you know where we are. I think I've seen Barry on the call. You've been down to the office and had a quick look around. Our support team is largely based out of the office here in Shoreham, and we're one of the very few companies that has a true 24/7 support team. So that's, rather than that being, people on call, that's people on shift working in the office and working through tickets that are in existence. So bit of a stat heavy slide this, and it's just really to give you a bit of a snapshot of the last financial year for the business. So I mentioned we've got 45,000 customers. The business turned 20 years old last year, and we had some great new logo wins in terms of new customers coming on board, including JD Sports and Charlie Bingham's, which is really good. A key kind of figure on here which stands out for me as well, the Focus Foundation, which was only set up a few years back, raised over 165,000. So that money will be used to support UK charities and social enterprises. There's a few criteria, and one of those is being in an area that's kind of local to one of our offices. And it's largely around supporting young people that come from underprivileged backgrounds. So it's a really good foundation, really good part of the business, and something that I think everyone that works here is quite passionate about being involved in. Little map showing where we are. I think actually we've grown by 2 offices since this map was put together, but it should give you a bit of an idea of where we are in the country. The overall growth plans of the business are that we would have a location in that we can drive to a customer's site within 45 minutes if needed. So most of our support cases or service cases now are based on everything being done remotely, but I think it's important that where needed, we can get to the customer quite quickly. Okay, so that was a little bit about Focus. Any questions at all before I move on to some of the products. Nope, nothing in the chat. Good stuff. So the main couple of products we talk about with introducers at full power are telecoms and connectivity. So if we start with telecoms, so Focus have got quite a large range of both cloud and on-premise telephony solutions, which can meet, I would say, 95% of customers' requirements. There is going to be the odd customer out there who has a really bespoke requirement that we haven't got an off-the-shelf product to suit. But if that is the case, we can go back to our suppliers and talk about sort of bespoke integrations with things. So I would say any customer that has an inquiry about telecoms, it's worth at least having a conversation to see what we can do to help. Some of the commonly used suppliers you can see across here on the left. So Gamma, Mitel, Microsoft Teams, which is a product which is becoming more prevalent in the telecoms market. So it used to be a case that people would move from an on-premise phone system to a hosted phone system, whereas a lot of the conversations we have with businesses now are more around moving to a Microsoft Teams based phone system. So lots of businesses are Microsoft houses, so they use a vast range of Microsoft products, and they want to integrate their phones and their telephony within the Teams product, so that they have one single pane of glass to work from on a day-to-day basis. As a business, we talk quite a lot about being innovative and coming up with products and solutions to make a real difference. So something I wanted to kind of highlight within the telecom space is a product that we've launched called Think Healthcare. Now, the product launched a few years ago and is largely around helping GP surgeries to create efficiencies. So the product is only available through Focus, so it's kind of bespoke to us. It was developed by our technical team and NHS specialists, and it's around using cloud telephony to help GP surgeries to improve patient healthcare and patient access. So a couple of things that we've done to improve. I'm sure if you've ever called into your doctor's surgery, you'll have become frustrated with some of the wait times and hold times, but some of the things that the product will do for an end user will give you the ability to receive an automatic callback. So if you call into your doctor's surgery and there's a wait of 45 people in the queue, you can hold your place in the queue and get an automated call back. The system will send SMS out to a patient to remind them of their appointment. So one of the biggest things in the healthcare industry is missed appointments, and GP surgeries are actually penalised for every time an appointment is missed. And so by the system sending automated messages out to their patients as a reminder, it encourages them to either call in so that appointment can become available to somebody else, or to actually attend. It also does some other really clever stuff like campaign alerts. So when you get on the phone to the receptionist, the phone system can start prompting, is this person eligible for a flu jab, or does this person need to be talking about a quit smoking cessation session that we're running? All the really clever stuff that makes a big difference to the doctor's surgery. Appreciate you won't all be talking about doctor's surgeries and meeting doctor's surgeries on a day-to-day basis, but I just wanted to give you a bit of a flavour of one of the products that didn't really exist 2 or 3 years ago, and we had quite a number of surgeries on board as customers. So, working with those surgeries in NHS England, we actually came up with a product which was, very specific and actually going to help them in a meaningful way. So connectivity is the next slide, and I never know whether to run the connectivity slide first or second, because I guess the main talking point of what we do is around telecoms, but ultimately because telecoms now runs over the internet, it's a cloud-based solution. Connectivity is the kind of backbone and what underpins all of that solution and makes it work. So we've got quite a large number of providers. You can see here on the left some of our providers that we work with. We've got access to, I think it's about 9 different carriers now. So we're not tied, so we're not like a BT who is tied to their own network and can only offer one product to a customer. So, you know, whether your customer's looking for a standard business broadband, a leased line, or if they've got multiple sites across their business that they're looking to interlink, we can go to market to find a competitive solution, and also find something that's right for them, because you know the competitive solution isn't necessarily always what's going to give them the best value for money when they're acquiring that kind of product. We can also do some other really cool stuff, passenger Wi-Fi. So if anybody works with any, you know, travel companies, that's taxis, coaches, anything like that, and they're looking to provide Wi-Fi to their passengers, we can do this using SIM cards in a smart device. Within the vehicle, we can look at, you know, putting SIM cards into CCTV cameras, whatever it might be from a connectivity point of view. If it moves and it's trackable, we can probably put a SIM card in it and connect to it. Okay. One thing that makes us slightly different, and again, I've come to here on the right of the page. So Faster Brighton is an initiative that was launched about 2 years ago now. The connectivity in Brighton historically was pretty poor. So businesses only had access to fairly substandard Openreach products, and you know, through surveys, that was one of the most important things to a business to improve on. So we went to a local carrier, and we've worked with that local carrier to roll out a full fibre network across Brighton. So it covers Brighton all the way across to Hove and Shoreham. So it's quite a vast area, covers about 9,500 businesses in that local area. So what we're doing now is going, you know, door knocking, getting out in front of those customers, leaflet drops, and we're talking to them about the fibre network that we've now got available, which can really transform some of the things they can do within their business. So if previously they only had access to copper products, they've now got access to a full fibre leased line type technology at very competitive prices. Joe, did I see a question there?
Sorry, yes, yeah, just very quickly. So this has come from Ian. I suppose, you know, going for kind of a layman's guide, which is obviously really useful for anyone that's kind of talking about it. But what actually is telecoms in a simple non-tech language, and also connectivity? Just to kind of like to break it down into a
fine.
You know.
So telecom, when we talk about telecoms and connectivity, it's either a voice or a data product. So voice is a phone line or the method of making a phone call to a customer, and then connectivity is your data, so it's your broadband. So it's kind of one of the two really important things of running a business. You know, people have cloud-based CRM systems now, so connectivity is really important. If you have an unreliable broadband connection, or it's not the right bandwidth, there's not enough data available to you, you might not be able to access your client data. So connectivity is really important. And then telecoms, that's an overall term, which could be, you know, a phone system or a phone line or multiple phone lines. Okay.
Great, thanks.
No worries. Were there any other questions at all before we move on?
Not at the moment, no.
Can you hear me?
Well, Susie.
Yeah.
Go on, Susie.
You talked about door knocking. I know Energy's business. Do you do anything for domestic, for telecoms, etc.?
We tend not to. So we really are a B2B business. The only time when I've ever really worked with a residential setting is you know, we look after the business owners, telecoms, for their business, and they want us to install a broadband at their home address. That's kind of the only time we'd get involved with a residential solution.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Okay, so moving on. So I've got a couple of slides here on I guess products that we haven't really spoken to introducers about in the past. We may have had conversations with clients about, and we'll always open the door to these conversations. But I think it's important that as introducers and the people that are out there talking to the customers, you get a bit of a flavour for some of the other products that we can talk to your customers about. So the first one is IT services. Now, IT is such a broad topic, and I guess we can help in any way, shape or form, whether that's running some network cabling within a business, supplying some hardware, you know, a laptop or some screens to go on the wall, all the way up to full 24/7 IT support, whether that's on-site or remote for end users, you know, can you reset my password, this kind of thing. We really are, I think I mentioned earlier on in the call, a Microsoft business. So a lot of the time what we're doing is going into a company and we're starting off by looking at their Microsoft estate. So if your customers, when you're going out to see them and you're talking about, you know, their energy with full power, and you're talking about their telecoms, and another question that you could ask them, which really would open the door to some quite in-depth conversations, is who do they currently buy their 365 licensing through? Now, business owners, if they're on Microsoft, and I think it's about 76% of businesses in the country do use Microsoft 365. If they're on Microsoft at the moment, you can start to build an understanding for yourself of what kind of licenses they have, what they're using. You know, are they just using it for their email? Are they using it for the applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint? Are they using, you know, a hot conversation topic at the moment is around Microsoft BI. So BI is used in businesses for reporting. So it can provide some real key information to business owners about how their business is performing at the moment. Now it extracts that data from whatever system they're using, and then it reports it back to them in a very user-friendly way. So I think these are conversations which perhaps we might have a sort of future webinar to dive into 365 or some of these topics in a bit more detail. But I just wanted today to make you aware that these were products that you have available to you. If a customer's with Microsoft and they're paying them directly, the good news is we can guarantee to save them money. And you can use that word guarantee when you're speaking to them. Fine. Next slide. Was there any questions on Microsoft at all, I guess, before we move on?
No, there's no questions coming in. But just very quickly, that's quite an interesting thing. Obviously, we're not just talking about telecoms as a landline phone line. It covers
that's right.
such a vast kind of opportunity, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's anything technology related. So it's all around essential business technology. So, you know, it's the connectivity to run their business, the broadband, it's the telecoms to allow their customers to, you know, get in touch via the phone or allow them to communicate. It's their laptops, their computers, you know, how are they running day to day? What's going on with their emails? If you come across some bigger businesses who want to look at contact center solutions, we can do that. You can look at integrating emails within their phone system, so we can start reporting on how many emails they've had and inquiries. There's all sorts we can do, far too much that probably could talk about on this call today.
Of course.
But
yeah.
it's just to give a flavour, really. Absolutely.
But just one question that's coming from Grandeval is: do you offer web hosting?
We can do, yes. Yeah, we can host for the customer. Yeah.
Right, brilliant.
Perfect. So the last slide on products that I've got together here is around cybersecurity, and you're going to have to forgive me because I'm going to read these bits off because I've got some stats from our cyber team. So they're the newest division into Focus. We acquired a business just before COVID who were a standalone cybersecurity awareness business, and they're probably, if you look at our portfolio of products, they're probably the fastest growing part of the business now, because so many customers want to talk about the products. So the biggest threat to any organization is no longer somebody breaking into an office and stealing physical equipment from them, but it's somebody attacking them using the internet. So hacking into their network, locking down their files. It's called, you've got something called ransomware, which is some software which can be deployed onto a network and can effectively wrap up all the files on a business's network, and they can ask you for a load of money to open it back up again. That is a cyber attack. If you look at the last 12 months, £71 million is the amount ransomware has cost UK businesses in downtime alone, so not including the cost of paying any ransoms to these hackers. It's just the downtime that it's cost businesses. So it's a huge problem for small, medium businesses who have no dedicated IT resource, and they're trying to get through day to day. And the business owner might also be, the financial director. They might also be the IT guy, and they're trying to work out how best to deal with these scenarios and situations. So this is, I think, why it's probably our fastest growing area. And if you look at a business, the biggest problem when it comes to cybersecurity is going to be your people. And the biggest kind of way, or the widest open door, if you like, is going to be through your employees. And largely that's through a phishing email. So employee gets an email saying, your contract hours have changed, or your holiday allowance has changed, and naturally they're going to click on that email. And one of the biggest products that we provide in this area is around training people. So trying to help educate your staff how to spot these cyber attacks, how to spot phishing emails. We've got a team that are dedicated to providing demos of the products, and we've got some really cool software which can allow us to actually look at your customers' domain and see if they've had any cyber breaches in the last couple of years. And obviously, if they have, we can make them aware of some things they can do to retrospectively protect themselves. Okay. Any products on cyber, because that's a big product area. Okay.
Can I ask Andy, if someone's already got a phone system they're happy with, etc., can you just go in and plug this in, or can work on the side of it?
Absolutely, Barry. So all of our divisions run kind of independently. All the product sets run independently.
Okay.
But if somebody's already got a phone system, do you mean already with Focus or with somebody else?
Yeah, or with someone else that they're happy with for now, and we're trying to get in there. This might be a way of.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah.
you might have a customer who might be in contract for the next 3 or 4 years with their telecoms company, and you still want to get away in the door. You still want to be able to talk to them about some of the products, some of the areas you can save them money. So you could just talk about 365 and cyber.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Could I just ask, but what size? I mean, can you cater for small budgets and small companies?
We certainly can. So most of the cyber products will start at kind of 5 to 10 employees as a minimum. I think if you're sub 5, then it could end up being a little bit of a costly product. But that ranges all the way up to 10,000 users. We've even rolled out the training to educational settings, whereby the staff are using the software to help educate the pupils, and we can give bespoke pricing in those settings. So perhaps only the staff licenses are paid for, and pupils are provided the training for free.
Thanks.
No worries. Okay, perfect. So that was the last slide on products. But I said at the beginning of the call, I wanted to have a bit more of a deep dive into the PSTN withdrawal or the big switch off, which is quite a hot topic at the moment, and something that businesses have been, talking about, or salespeople have been trying to talk to businesses about for the last 2 or 3 years. And for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you already do, the PSTN network, or the public switch telephone network, is copper based, and it's been in use since 1876, so it's pretty old now. It's pretty unreliable, constant faults for businesses. People still using legacy technology will have a hard time getting hold of Openreach engineers to come and fix products. The PSTN, because of those reasons, Openreach have decided they're going to switch off that network. We'll come on to the timeline in a minute, because you can see here it's currently set at December 25. It has been pushed back slightly, but there are no concrete timeframes, and there will be some exchanges switching off between now and the very last one. So it's important your customers know about this. Just bring these up. So the reasons, I think I covered off mainly on the last slide, but broadband services over the last 10 years, largely fibre-based broadband services, have increased in reliability, have increased in speed that they're providing to customers. And because of that, it means there's no longer going to be a requirement for traditional copper network type products to be used and to be provided to businesses. This also impacts residential as well, so it's useful to know if you're speaking to people about their home services, but their home supplier will reach out to them to discuss that in more detail as something they need to do. So the priority for Openreach is really to maintain a high availability fibre first network. As a result of that, they're training more and more of their staff on how to install fibre products, how to maintain fibre products. And because most of their staff are tied up in those areas, they have less and less staff available, or engineers, to help with fixing copper products, which is why businesses who are still on copper technology can find it can take some time to get any issues resolved. No FTTP, was that, Susie?
Here in the forest, yeah, there's a dearth of FTTP.
Fine. Are you still on copper technology where you are?
I've got FTTC.
Okay. Whereabouts are you geographically?
New Forest.
Okay.
Near Fordingbridge.
Perhaps after the call, if you drop me an email or a message with your address, we can have a look at some alternative network providers and different solutions that might be available.
Yeah, Wessex are doing quite a lot around the area.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of these, you'll find a lot of areas will have independent, what we call altnets, or alternative network providers. So similar to the one we've worked with to build out the Brighton network, that will go into an area that's underserviced by Openreach and will deliver fibre technology to businesses and to residential alike. A lot of altnets are both residential and business. The reason they do that is to get the highest uptake on their network possible. On the right hand side of the slide, you can see some of the products that you may have come across in the past that are actually affected by the big switch off. So analog lines and ISDN digital lines are all going to be affected. And of course, that means your ADSL, which is your kind of standard broadband, and fibre to the cabinet, which also relies on a copper line, products will all be switched off when the PSTN has finished. The good news is there are plenty of alternative products available now for businesses to move to. So, stop sales and timeframes. Openreach have been very, very fluid with the time frame, or inaccurate might be a better word. They put some time frames in place and they pushed the dates, and they put some more time frames and they pushed the dates. What we do know is October 21, 169 exchanges were put into what's called a stop sell. So that means you can no longer provide a copper product. So any business within those exchanges at that time, if they had, let's say, an ISDN line and they wanted to add an additional line, they would have to migrate to a future-proof digital product in order to allow themselves to do that. In December 22, so just over a year later, the first exchange was completely switched off. So that was Mildenhall Salisbury. And that was a bit of a trial run, I guess, for Openreach. But they delivered the product to the businesses and the residents within the area, and they went through with that switch off. So we know it works. We know the future-proof products are better and are readily available. It's just encouraging businesses to move over to them. December 23, so last December, there was a UK-wide stop sell. So further to the 169 exchanges which went into stop sell back in 21, the whole lot was stopped. So no telecoms company can add additional copper products into a business. So it will have to be a IP or digital based product that we're talking to businesses about. The idea in the beginning was by 2025, the whole thing would be switched off. But as mentioned just earlier, Openreach have pushed that back, or they've said this is not a concrete date, but they are not sure when it's going to happen by. I guess the important thing is just when we're speaking to businesses to make them aware that it is happening. And the quicker they move on to these future-proof products, the more reliable their products are going to be, the faster, the better for the business. And I think I had a conversation with Jeff actually a couple of weeks back. A lot of people are under the impression that because they're future-proof, they're potentially going to cost them more money, but they don't necessarily have to cost them more money. So if your customer's currently got a phone system and they're still on traditional lines, they'll be making calls but incurring lots of call cost. And when we take an overall view, because with VoIP type phone systems, largely calls are free of charge, we can actually save the customer money. Okay. Is there any questions on the big switch off at all?
So it's Melinda here, down in
Hi,
George.
Melinda.
I'm just curious because obviously there's been a lot of press about obviously residential lines and that if there's a power cut, etc., that you've then got no access. So how do you sort of satisfy that sort of questioning that comes back, whether it's business or resi?
Okay, so when you're having conversations with businesses, and obviously we hear this quite a lot, you know, what if there's a power cut? What if my internet goes down? The only one line you need as a comeback is what happens at the moment if your phone line goes down, because it's the exact same scenario. So what they're talking about is not being able to receive their phone calls or make a phone call. I guess the good news with future-proof products is if the power goes down, there's a high percentage chance they will have an application that goes alongside their phone system on their mobile phone. And so using 4G on the mobile phone, they can still receive and make business calls. So actually it's a much more reliable product than the copper technology, even in those scenarios where we have, you know, power outages and whatnot.
However, again, that depends on reception. And I need to use wireless technology using my broadband to make phone calls that people on my mobile phone, that people can actually understand me, because the reception is rubbish.
Fine. Okay. I guess ultimately that is an issue. If you have poor reception, we can do things like putting in 4G backup into your router. So if you have an outage on your main broadband service, we can put in a 4G backup service to make sure you've got that connectivity. If it's power related, obviously that's still going to be an issue because your router is going to go down. But it's just managing the customer's expectations in the right way, I guess. Ultimately, if you've got a mobile signal, we could just divert all of your calls from the phone system onto your mobile phone rather than having to go through the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but this is the problem. The mobile phone signals are not great either. So anyway.
Understood. So on screen, a few other considerations with the switch off.
Can it's John Jackson here. Can I make a question?
Of course, yes. Hi, John.
Yes. Hi there. We've got the local installer installing fibre to the house in our area.
Okay.
What happens if I come across a business that wants to upgrade, but there's an independent installer here and not part of your team? What happens with that?
So earlier on, there was a slide I had which showed several carriers that we work with. So across our network, I think it's about 9 carriers we work with, including several aggregators. So we work with some aggregator carriers who will go, they'll have like an online portal and they'll pull in pricing from lots of these alternative network providers. So there's a good chance that we can probably get connectivity in that area. If it's a real abstract independent that is only rolling out in one town, for example, then there's a chance we can't deliver that technology, but it's worth a conversation to see what products are available.
Yeah. Is there any chance you could pop that? I had to come on late. I apologise. Could you pop that up on the screen again so I can do a screen save?
Yeah, what I'll do, well, that's you were recording this anyway, so
okay.
we'll be circulating the video around afterwards.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, mate. Thanks. Thanks for that. Cheers.
There's a couple of questions I've seen coming through. Shall I just have a quick look in the chat? Let's have a look.
Yeah, please do, Andy. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it's probably going to be a lot of questions, and I appreciate we're probably not going to cover them all today. What I would suggest, actually, if you have got questions and you're sitting there thinking I want to answer this, is maybe just collate them and send them to either myself or Joe afterwards, and we can certainly get these
the last slide has actually got my contact details on. So if anyone wants to drop me an email or a WhatsApp or anything directly to talk about specific opportunities, that might be the best way of kind of going about this. Or, if it's just your area you want to look at, happy to help. Just drop that over in an email or a WhatsApp. Happy to help. So yes, so on screen, when you're talking to businesses, a few other things to go in and check. That some people still use fax lines and fax machines. Do they have a door entry system? When you're adding a lead onto the portal, it's really useful information that we can understand this. The more we've got at the outset, the more we've got to go on. I'm going to skip over this slide because we've talked quite a lot about the products already, and this is just a flavour of some of the different products available to replace the traditional copper products. So you've got Phone Line Plus is a replacement for a single phone line. Horizon would be a replacement for a business looking to have 5, 10, 15 handsets with several phone lines. And then Microsoft Teams is a go-to product now for a lot of businesses who want to rely on software instead of having physical handsets. There's a lot of options available to businesses, and I guess that's one of the reasons why having somebody who's a bit of an expert in the field, in the industry, can speak to your customers and dive into what their requirements are, would then kind of push us down which product to offer them. Okay. Processes and onboarding. So I know there's been a lot of questions around processes and onboarding, and I'm wondering whether actually, Jeff, rather than covering these off individually, if I send out these as slides afterwards and then you can upload them on the system, because if I start to fly through them, so what I've got here is our focuses at our processes at focus, should I say, for onboarding single phone line customers, broadband customers, lease line customers, and cloud phone system. And they are quite lengthy. So to give you an idea, this is our process. If your customer that's coming on board with us is a single phone line, all the different teams that it touches, all the different processes, all the different contacts with the customer, and the lead time. And similar for broadband services, for leased lines, but there's actually a few more. So I've gone over onto a couple of slides there, and for cloud phone systems as well. So perhaps, Jeff, it might be useful if we send this out afterwards so that everyone's got visibility.
Yeah, that's fine, Andy. Yeah, and obviously it's quite a clear, description of what the process is there. So
there
yeah,
are
we'll put that on the
frames.
resources section. Yeah.
Cool. There's time frames at the bottom of every page. Obviously, you're going to get the odd order, which is a bit of an anomaly. And anytime there's number porting involved, we're reliant on the incumbent provider, so the existing provider, allowing us to take over that number. Sometimes they can play a bit tricky, and you have to get LOA signed and things like that.
Andy, sorry, just about the process. Is it fair to say that if I was an introducer, I've submitted a lead,
yep.
It all goes a little bit quiet. There's a few issues, but it generally isn't at your doorstep that's the issue. Sometimes it could be.
So this is when somebody's on board, as in, and they've signed up with us as a customer. So
yeah.
The salesperson who deals with that customer will send a project handover, if you like, to our admin team. The admin team will create the account on our billing platform, and will make sure that the right people get hold of the order to do all the different things that we need to do. So that process in itself can take a week or two to get in front of the right people and give them a good understanding of what's required in that project, depending on the size of the project. I think it's really important that your customers understand we need to contact their existing provider, and the existing provider needs to be on board with us taking over the service. If they're in contract for another 4 years and they don't tell us that, and we try and take over the service, they're probably going to get an early termination fee letter and a call saying, hang on a minute, what are you doing? You can't leave yet because you owe us a load of money. So there's lots of different things to take on board at this very kind of crucial point when they're just joining us. But hopefully, if everyone has a quick look through the different processes, it should give you a good understanding of what's what.
Just on the back of that, Andy, on Jeff's comment, is so if we do put a lead through and they are tied in for the next couple of years or whatever with a provider, do we as IAs have to remember to reconnect and put forward again in, say, 2 years' time, our client, or have you on your CRM system got something that picks up and feeds back to us?
So what we will always do is we will always schedule to contact the customer around about 6 months before that contract comes up for renewal. So if it turns out that the contract's not up for renewal for, say, 2 years, we would diarise for a call back in about a year and a half, and reach out and reconnect with that customer. We'd update the Full Power Fuse Metrics portal as well to let you know that's what we're doing. And yeah, look, it's always good to keep in contact with your customers, and I try and encourage my team to reach out to customers every 6 months or so, just so that the customer remembers who they are, even if they are in contract for a period. But no, you don't need to remember to do that.
And you are putting info into the Full Power portal as well. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the last slide from my part is really around pricing, and quite a lot of the time I get questions from introducers who are asking, can you give me pricing for this? Can you give me pricing for this? Just so I can go out and see the customer and give them a price. So the difficulty we have here, and I just wanted to put a slide up on the screen to try and help you understand. When you put a lead on the portal, we'll have a conversation with that customer, and it might be for a broadband connection, it might be for a phone line, but it could also be for some cybersecurity services and IT products as well. And because of that, you know, on the left hand on the screen here, we've got a selection of telecom suppliers on the left hand side, but on the right hand side of the screen you've also got some cyber suppliers and connectivity suppliers and IT suppliers, and we might have to reach out to several of these partners or carriers to get pricing for different products before we can actually deliver a proposal to your customer. So it's not always possible for us to just give you a price there and then over the phone. And I get that question a lot. So I just wanted to perhaps try and help people understand why we can't always do that. Okay.
Actually, Andy, that's very similar to energy as well.
Fine.
We can't
Okay.
just get prices on the phone, you know, just give me a price now. It takes a bit more kind of fact finding and, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
hunting
I
for
think
that.
also, you know, the guys here on the team we're pretty good at uncovering opportunities where if there is an opportunity to talk to the customer about cyber, which maybe you hadn't thought of at the outset, we will uncover that opportunity. And it's great that we deliver that as a solution rather than just here's a phone and broadband for X amount of money, because it's a solution build and adds value to what we're delivering to the customer.
May I have a quick question again, please, Jeff? It's John
course.
Jackson. Do you have any early termination fee assist for customers?
So again, another sort of common conversation. We can help to buy out existing contracts, but ultimately that cost has to be covered somewhere. So generally speaking, it would be if there's a phone system lease that we can cover the cost within. What we as a business won't tend to do is just lose a load of money up front on an early termination fee to then make it back. That's just not,
Yes. Okay.
not
No, that's
something
fair
we do.
enough. Yep. I'd have been surprised if you do, but it's worth discussing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions at all? Perfect. Jeff, I'm going to rely on you for this one.
Okay.
So this is how to log a telecoms lead within Fuse
Yeah.
Metrics.
Okay. So obviously everyone should be have access to their portals. It's fairly straightforward, just like an energy lead. If you've not done this before, I know a lot of you have. We require the same information as you would for submitting a energy lead. When you get through to the process, you fill out all the contact details, the address, the company details, etc. To the right hand side, you'll have the bit more information, so you can tick whether you want a telecoms inquiry to go through. If you want a multiple, so for example, if you want to put an energy in a lead through as well as a telecoms, you just tick both those boxes, and then drop down boxes will kind of ask you for a bit more information. Now this is obviously where Andy's saying about all the other additional services. You don't have to be obviously the expert here, like we say with the energy side of it. It's just more just opening that conversation to a business owner and giving as much information for Andy and his team to work on, really. We also don't require, well, Andy, just back me up, but you don't actually require a copy of a bill straight away, because sometimes
We don't, no.
that can impede, I know, from an energy point of view. Sometimes you might not have a copy of a bill, but with telecoms you don't necessarily need that information. But realistically, as much info about that client, about their potential needs, what they're doing, who do they use now, what are they looking to do with their telecoms in the future, kind of thing, like future proofing. So it's more just asking the question and logging that information. Once that information gets submitted, that'll go through directly, not to your Full Power energy consultants here internally, Full Power. It'll go directly to Andy and his team at Focus Group. And then obviously that's when the dialogue and conversation will be, when Andy and team put comments on that client. Andy, it's fair to say that if an introducer puts a comment to say that they'd like to be involved,
yeah,
then you will get in touch with the introducer first?
Absolutely. So one of the things I'm trying to encourage people on my team to do is actually open the conversation with the introducer before going to the customer. The reason for this is, you guys know the customers, you've introduced us, you've probably got a really good understanding of any pain points they have, any frustrations, the reason they asked somebody to get in touch. And I just think it gives the account manager a much better understanding before they reach out to the customer. I'm also very, very happy to have introducers sit Teams meetings with the guys. So meet them together. It will help you understand a lot more about our products very, very quickly. It will help you learn some of the questions that we ask when we're talking to your customers, when we're doing that fact find to try and build a solution for the customer. So I think that'd be really, really useful.
Obviously, if you want to know a bit more about obviously submitting leads, that's where myself and Joanne can come in if you want to have a chat after after the call.
Perfect. And I've just, last slide has got my contact details. So if anyone has any opportunities, specific that they want to ask questions about, or general questions about telecoms and connectivity or cyber, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. Now we've got a couple of minutes just before we wrap up, and I'm sure there's many questions on there. I'm just having a look through some of the questions that we might not have answered. Julian has just mentioned about Sagia broadband. Is Sagia broadband a fibre product?
So it is not. Sagia is delivered in the same way that a fibre to the cabinet product was delivered. So it still uses, in fact, it still uses copper technology, just without a dial tone. So it still uses that existing infrastructure, but with no dial tone.
Okay, thank you. Susie's just asked, you mentioned about 4G, but what about 5G?
So 5G is absolutely available as a product. We have to get a mobile specialist involved if we want to offer a 5G product. We have some kind of bespoke 4G products available that we use as backup services. So 4G is used more as a backup than 5G at the moment. It's more readily available and it's more cost effective for customers.
Thank you. And sorry, the last one that Graham DeVale's just put on. So we did a pricing tool spreadsheet for the portal some time ago. It's still on the portal.
Is it? Okay, fine.
Is that still a valid tool to be using now, or should we?
Could you send it across to me, please, Jeff, just so I can have a check over? It may very well be. But again, I'd kind of refer people back to that slide where if you open the door to a customer wants a cheaper broadband, that's great. We might be able to open the door to some other products and solutions which might really help the customer. So I would definitely suggest, even if you want to have all the contact with the customer, get one of our specialists involved, and we'll really open that conversation up for you.
Yeah, so Graham, I think that probably answers that question to hold fire using the pricing tool element on the portal at the moment until we update it. I think, but that's about it. I think for questions today. As I mentioned before, if you want to reach out to Andy, then obviously his details are there. Oh, sorry, I missed the call. Sorry, no worries, Melinda. Make sure you're on time next time. Won't tell you off. But
Could I get one question? Sorry.
Sorry, Felicity.
Can I just quickly ask one question? If someone doesn't know, so they're a fairly new staff member or whatever, or if they don't know if they're on analog or digital or what they're on, how do they find out? If they're, say, an office manager and they go, well, the foggiest what we're on, how do they actually go around the office and find out what they're on?
So again, these are the kind of conversations that you should definitely get one of the specialists here involved with. Myself or one of my colleagues can speak to them and ask them to look for certain things in the office that they might be that would indicate to us what kind of technology they're using. It's probably the easiest way is just to have a Teams type call with them and get them to show us what the infrastructure looks like.
Okay, thanks.
And a copy of the bill actually would show you largely what products that they've got.
Thanks, Andy, and thanks to everyone that's joined today's call. As I say, we have been recording this, so we will be putting this out on different channels, so you can have a little watch again. And apologies if you can hear drilling, because they're drilling next door. So I'm gonna sign off, and thanks again, Andy, and I'm sure we'll all catch up soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Andy. That was
Bye-bye.
brilliant.
Bye.
Well done.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Andy.
Andy. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.